Good morning, everyone. We are going to have some challenges this morning, I think, but that's okay. We are all up to the task. Are we not? Yes, we are. And sharing some quotes that I enjoyed. January is the quietest month in the garden, but just because it looks quiet doesn't mean that nothing is happening. We spend January 1st walking through our rooms, our lives, room by room, drawing up a list of work to be done, cracks to be patched, and maybe this year, to balance the list, we ought to walk through the rooms of our lives, not looking for flaws, but for potential. And if January is the month of change, February is the month of lasting change. January is for dreamers, February is for doers. Let us pray. Father, Mother God, we are so grateful for your presence in our lives today and always. We ask now that our angels and guides and loved ones in spirit come join us closely as we celebrate your presence by repeating the words the Master Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I am so excited this morning to introduce a first-timer to the platform. Adrienne has been a certified medium with us for about a year or so now. But she's been coming to the church for quite some time, and I'm just really glad that she's gotten brave to take the step up here and talk to you all this morning. So let's welcome Adrienne.
Hello. It's strange to be up here.
It is a different feeling, isn't it?
Just different perspective. Okay. Good morning. I am very excited to be up here today. Bear with me if I stumble over some words. That's it is what it is. But I want to thank you, Laura, and the church for allowing me to do this. It's been a goal for mine since I was certified. So I will start today's talk with a quote. I already messed up, so it's fine. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. And I'll leave who the author is a mystery for now. I began my spiritual journey in 2019 when I took the mediumship course at this church. I approached the experience with a strong sense of curiosity as well as a healthy dose of skepticism. At the time, I probably would have considered myself an agnostic theist, as I believed in some sort of higher power, but I was highly skeptical of anything religious, esoteric, or spiritual. I'm sure many of you can identify with that feeling. But what initially got me interested in mediumship was the fact that both my mom and my sister had taken the mediumship class here at this church. And I figured that they couldn't be lying to me if they truly believed they could speak to dead people. So I decided there had to be something to it. And yes, I had been practicing tarot for some time, but I wasn't fully convinced yet that it was giving me real guidance from a higher place. So in this state of skepticism and hope, I began the spiritual journey that I continue today. Not long after starting this path into the world of woo, I began following different spiritual personalities online, including a relatively down-to-earth tarot reader named Teresa Reed, of no relation to our dearest Laura. As time went on, and I kept hearing people talk about the shadow self and how to heal your shadow, I became curious about what that meant. I always knew that I had some deeply held beliefs about myself that I needed to work through. I had been in therapy several times throughout my life, as I've struggled with my mental health since I was a teenager. On an intellectual level, I knew the antidepressants I was taking were just a band-aid for the real problem. And being the self-help kind of gal that I was, I had an entire bookshelf dedicated to books promising to change my life. So the idea of being able to heal myself was calling my name. By this time, the pandemic was in full swing. On top of that, I had just quit my job, and because I was fed up working for corporate overlords, and I felt like my soul was being slowly drained. The pandemic made me reevaluate my life, and I finally decided it was time to find my true purpose. I wanted to see if I could find something that was more fulfilling, something that could light up my soul. Yep, I was smack dab in the middle of a huge spiritual awakening. Given my general feelings of overwhelm, sadness, and confusion at this time, when I saw that Teresa Reed, the tarot reader I'd followed, had co-authored a book called Tarot for Troubled Times, I knew I had to have it. Spirit was telling me that it was time to open myself up to the world of shadows. And I did not actually bring the book with me today, I just realized. But it's fine. If you want to see it, I'll post a picture or something. But anyway, on the caption on the cover reads, "Confront your shadow, heal yourself, transform the world." Sounds quite lofty, doesn't it? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's true. I've begun to heal my darkest beliefs without the need for a therapist. Or more accurately, the therapist has just changed to the one within. The healing I've experienced on this spiritual path is so noticeable that I finally felt ready to reduce the amount of antidepressant medication I've been taking for over 15 years. But listen, I am not a physician nor a licensed therapist. I'm not giving medical advice up here. But I am telling you how doing the work of healing my shadow and learning to love more of myself has improved my life in ways I did not expect, and has changed my outlook on the future of this world. My goal today is to show you how shadow work can change you in life-altering ways. I'm not saying it's a one-size-fits-all approach. For me, it's been a combination of all the things I've done over the past 5 years. Reading books, tarot, mediumship, channeling, Reiki. All of these things have healed me in one way or another. And most of these changes have been gradual. But I've noticed the most growth when I consciously choose to confront my shadow beliefs head on. My hope for all of you is that you'll see the value in starting or continuing your shadow work journey. That you'll see the light you have within is ready to shine. And that you'll begin to see yourself as a way shower in the world, a guiding light for others, especially now in this time of chaos and confusion. Because now is the time to go within. When we do the hard work of healing, we will begin to see the people and circumstances around us begin to change as well. So I ask you today, do you think we can transform the world around us? Are you ready to make the world a more peaceful, loving place by facing your own shadow and learning to be more peaceful and loving with yourself? Let's explore the topic of healing the shadow by first defining its terms and concepts. The modern term, the shadow, was coined by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. Perhaps you've heard of him. And as you may have guessed, he is the author of the quote I opened with today. As he used it, the shadow is synonymous with patterns of behavior. He used the shadow concept in the new field of analytical psychology, in which he studied archetypes and the unconscious mind. According to Jung, one's shadow was the part of the self that acted based on deeply rooted and mostly unknown thoughts and beliefs. He stated that our unconscious beliefs directly impact the way we feel, act, and behave in our everyday lives. Carl Jung was highly respected as a clinical psychologist, as he was rooted in a traditional science-based education. But unlike other psychologists of his day, he did not believe in restricting himself to the scientific method as a way to understand the human psyche. He used dream analysis, myths, synchronicities, and folklore to gain further understanding of the human mind. And being that much of the psyche is unconscious, it could not be studied using direct scientific methods. As Carl Jung once said, the beauty about the unconscious is that it is really unconscious. This leads us to Jung's theory on the structure of the mind and the concept of the self. According to Jung, the self is the totality of all the different parts of our mind, fully integrated into a unique whole. To Jung, the self is one's core personality, or the soul itself. According to his model, there are parts of the mind which are unknown to us. In fact, these unknown parts must be integrated into our complete sense of self in order for us to become the most true, whole version of ourselves. Indeed, when parts of ourselves remain unknown to us, not only can this lead to neurosis and psychosis, but also leads to an inability to achieve full self-awareness. According to Jung, the psyche, the entire and complete self, is made up of three major parts. And for those in the know, we will ignore the anima versus animus concept for this talk. The first part, the deepest and most controlling aspect of the psyche, is the unconscious mind, or the shadow self. It consists of two parts, the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious. This part of the mind is essentially unknown to us, but directs most of our behaviors. It contains the rejected or disowned qualities of ourselves. It contains the parts of ourselves that are in conflict with the ideal version of ourselves. So let's define the two parts of the unconscious mind that I just mentioned. The collective unconscious, which contains the inherited personality and biological mode of functioning inherent at birth. These are our life and death instincts. It's the physical and mental blueprint for life on Earth. The collective unconscious also contains inherited ideas and beliefs from our ancestors and humanity at large. These are the universal archetypal symbols common to humankind. Examples include the mother figure and father figure, birth, death, the moon, etc. The second part of the unconscious mind is the personal unconscious. This contains the memories, beliefs, and ideas gained during a person's life or from recent past lives. It is most often equated to the undesirable parts of ourselves. These unwanted or unlovable aspects become repressed or ignored, buried deep in the unconscious mind. However, the shadow can contain both positive and negative aspects of ourselves. For example, if someone believes they are a mean person, but in truth they are kind, the kind aspect of themselves will be pushed down into the subconscious. In other words, the shadow contains both the positive and negative aspects of our personalities, which we do not like or do not agree with. The second part of the human psyche is the conscious mind, or the ego. This is the rational, common sense thinking, speaking part of the mind, the I, the sense of personal identity. The center where processing of the outside world takes place. One's conscious experience of oneself and the world. It has access to the thoughts and memories that are not repressed. The third part of the human psyche is the persona. This is the mask or the false face we show others. The persona grows out of the childhood need to adapt to the expectations of parents, teachers, and peers. It manages our relationship with society and the outside world. It is the social representation of the self. The persona attempts to balance the internal world with the external world. In its attempt at self-preservation, it often develops defense mechanisms to bring contradictions within the self into some sort of perceived balance. Some of these defense mechanisms include denial, suppression, projection, dissociation, and avoidance, among others. To recap, the unconscious mind, the shadow, containing both collective and personal unconscious beliefs, has the most control over our feelings and behaviors, yet is consciously unknown to us. Next comes the thinking, reasoning, conscious mind, the ego, which tries to make sense of the sensory input we receive and helps us navigate the world around us. It is the sense of self prior to the process of integration. And finally, the persona, the mask we've created to defend ourselves from perceived external threats and allows us to fit in with society at large. So what is shadow work and why should we do it? Shadow work is the process by which we integrate all aspects of the psyche together to form a more complete and accurate sense of the self. To do this integration work, one must be willing to bear the conflict inherent in human psychology. We live in a world of duality, one in which paradoxes can and do exist at the same time, and our psyche is a perfect example. Due to the inherent paradoxes within ourselves, we must be able to experience and sit with the contradiction and tension for new ways of being to be born. In other words, when we start consciously recognizing and acknowledging our unconscious beliefs, the ones that hold us back in life, then we begin to become our whole true selves. When we can identify the false masks we've put on to help us feel safe and accepted, we can recognize them for what they truly are, a Band-Aid to cover up a deep insecurity or painful memory. This unmasking process, which starts with awareness, requires that we look at ourselves with a discerning eye, one that will not shy away from our truths. No one said it's easy, but it is necessary if we are to make the world around us what we want it to be. As Carl Jung once said, if you don't integrate the shadow will disintegrate you. According to Tarot for Troubled Times, the book I mentioned earlier, the shadow is a subtle darkness that wraps around you like a soft velvet cloak. It's the part of you that is dark, rich, and fertile. It is the place where we lock our fears and insecurities, our monsters and demons. The shadow is that space within where you feel abandoned, lost, and confused. It's the part of ourselves that we don't like to face, so we avoid it or hide it. On the outside, we look fine, but on the inside, we're consumed by thoughts of fear, jealousy, anger, perfectionism, or worse. You see, if we focus only on the surface or the stuff that feels comfortable, our healing journey can go only so far. We must confront the fears, emotions, weaknesses, and inner conflicts within ourselves if we wish to experience deep healing. All your shadow needs is acknowledgement, to be seen and heard. All it needs is validation and approval to be exactly who he or she is without shame, fear, or guilt. When we find the healing that is available to us, we can begin to integrate all parts of ourselves into an empowered whole, which allows us to be a force for good in the world. In healing is where you find your power. You will no longer feel the need to prove your worth or explain yourself to others. You can learn to just be you, the real, true you. And this is how you help to heal others. When you are more whole and living your truth, your inner light can shine. You will become a beacon of light, a lighthouse for those lost in the darkness. The lesson here is where you feel pain is where you will find the opportunity for growth. Pain is our reminder to pay attention and to go within. To begin to heal, we must choose to stop numbing or avoiding the pain. We must consciously face it head on with courage, with openness, honesty, and genuine curiosity. And when you acknowledge and face your fears, you will undergo deep healing transformation that gives back you your power. The power of choice over your thoughts and beliefs, the power of choice over how you react to the world. So I ask you today, can you begin to face the ugly, unwanted parts of yourself that you've buried deep inside? Can you begin to accept all that you are, regardless of what society or anyone else might think of you? So how do we do the work? Jung stated that our main purpose in life is to achieve the fullest possible actualization of the self. The process of self-actualization, or individuation as Jung called it, is what we call shadow work today. Individuation is the continual, progressive process of bringing unconscious thoughts and beliefs into conscious awareness. Once brought into the conscious mind, the beliefs are then integrated into the self, thereby creating a more accurate picture of the core person. In essence, one becomes a more whole and perfect expression of their own unique soul. This pursuit of wholeness aims to establish the self, including the rational conscious mind of the ego and the irrational contents of the unconscious, as the new personality center. We shift our sense of self-identity from being purely ego, the conscious mind, to include our hidden aspects as well. And not only does shadow work involve unveiling our unconscious beliefs, but we must also address the persona. Our unconscious beliefs dictate how we think, act, and behave in the outer world. And if those hidden beliefs are not congruent with what society expects of us, we create the persona, or our version of the ideal self. It's the mask that allows us to fit into society and the groups we choose to belong to. We must reveal and remove the falsehoods we developed as a means of protection and self-preservation. By recognizing and identifying the internal dissonances created by our true self, our shadow beliefs, and the masks we've created, we can then decide if we will let them go, or integrate them within our core identity. This is a conscious process in which we must recognize the thoughts and beliefs that are not truly our own and release their power over us. But like Jung said, the process is continual and progressive. It doesn't just stop there. We must continue to deny those beliefs that do not belong to us and actively affirm the beliefs we choose instead. As Luana/Laura said last week, there is a void created when we decide to let a belief go. And if we don't fill that void with something positive, the negative belief will slowly fill it again. Over time, as we keep practicing this process, the beliefs we consciously choose to believe will become more ingrained in our minds, and the habit of the old beliefs will melt away as their power diminishes. Again, it is a progressive and continual process. Can you think of any patterns of behavior in your own life that you'd like to change? Do you tend to react to offenses in the same way every time, like when someone cuts you off in traffic? Do you seem to never get ahead in life, stuck in a dead-end job? Or do you end up in the same type of relationship over and over again? What beliefs are you tired of believing in? Do you struggle with your relationship to money and abundance? Or your relationship to food? Do you continually self-sabotage the opportunities that you've prayed and asked for? Do you struggle with your sense of self-worth? What outdated belief are you holding on to is preventing you from living a life of happiness? Once you become aware of and can identify your limiting thoughts and beliefs, the next step is to recognize that they do not have true power over you. You must acknowledge that you are in control. You have power over your thoughts and beliefs. Realize that your beliefs, once brought into conscious awareness, then become a conscious choice. I want to say that line again. Realize that your beliefs, once brought into conscious awareness, then become a conscious choice. So the first step in doing shadow work is to identify the negative thought or belief. The second is to choose whether you want to continue thinking that thought or believing that belief. And the third step is to either reaffirm and accept the thought or belief, or to choose to let it go and consciously put a new one in its place. So logically, the next question is, how do we expose the unconscious thoughts, beliefs, and ideas we have repressed? How do we bring the defenses we've built up to protect ourselves from the outside world to light? We'll try one way today through our meditation. This is embracing the shadow side. And if you want the script for this, I'm more than willing to send it to you. Find a space, both outside and in, that's quiet. And let yourself rest there in that quiet space. Allow yourself to melt into the surface beneath you and totally, completely relax. Inside of you, there is a different kind of space, a different part of yourself that you've pushed down, ignore, reject, or refuse to claim. This is your shadow self. Your shadow self is an important part of you, a part that can help you heal. So breathe. Breathe in and find your center. Breathe in and find your calm. Breathe in and give yourself permission to acknowledge your shadow. As you continue to breathe, let yourself visualize your shadow self. What does it look like? Any answer you give is the right one for you. Does it have a shape? What does your shadow feel like? Soft and hazy? Hard and compact? Does it have a color? Simply breathe and observe. Now, imagine smiling at your shadow self, welcoming it into your awareness, into your consciousness. With a smile on your face, invite your shadow self to tell you what it wants you to know. Listen to its words with curiosity and an open mind, and accept what it says as truth. If any emotions arise, just breathe into them and allow. Continue to listen to your shadow for several minutes. What does it have to say to you? Take a deep, cleansing breath. In and out. See your shadow self as a unified part of your whole self. You are one complete being. And as you breathe, let your consciousness open to healing. Open yourself to healing the pain, healing the self-doubt, healing the feeling of worthlessness, healing your shadow self. Now find the quiet again, the quiet space where you can just breathe, where you can just be. Allow yourself to feel what it's like to be whole, what it's like to openly embrace all parts of you, what it's like to acknowledge how truly beautiful you are. Allow yourself to lovingly accept how perfectly imperfect you are. Now start to come back to your body. Wriggle your fingers and toes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Welcome back.